Hello book lovers, and welcome to my 6th annual roundup of the most beautiful books published during the year. All of the books that I talk about are listed below, and I have the full list plus another 30 or so I didn't have time to film on my website as well. There's a bumper crop this year with many publications that were delayed by the pandemic hitting the scene. So please sit down, grab a beverage and buckle in for a long but I hope enjoyable ride. Let's start with children's books first. I've got a couple of beautiful little pocket-sized Alice editions, released for this year's Platinum Jubilee. Both feature foiled page edges and covers, and the classic John Tenniel illustrations with blue text for Alice and red text for Through the Looking Glass. They're lovely little stocking fillers. Next, we have the latest Interactive Classics edition by MinaLima. This one's called Snow White and Other Grimm's Fairy Tales, and it's an illustrated collection of 23 of the classic fairy tales with 9 interactive features, which go from a pop-up forest to a wall of thorns encasing Sleeping Beauty to a 3-dimensional ball gown for Cinderella. I love all the books in this series, and I have all of them. You can't go wrong, they're a lot of fun. Next, we've got a really sweet novelty picture book. This is called Mouse's Wood, A Year in Nature. It's delightfully illustrated with lots of die-cut flaps that allow you to follow the woodland ramblings of Mouse as he walks through the different changes in the seasons. It's obviously based on the Northern Hemisphere, but I'm here in Australia and I still find this sort of thing adorable. If you're looking for a classic collection of Aesop fables, this new one that's been put out, illustrated by Robert Ingpen, is a lovely place to start. All of Aesop's fables are bound up with 2,000 years of wisdom and truth, and for this edition they've been clearly retold by Carolyn Lawrence to appeal to today's audience. And if you'd like to expose some young ones to more classic literature, the golden age of Ovid's Metamorphoses has been adapted by award-winning Austrian author Heinz Janisch. and the illustrations are by Anna Sender. These include stories from the origin of the world to Pan and Apollo and Daphne and Narcissus and Echo, lots of the myths and gods that you know. Another lovely picture book for children is The Biggest Bible Storybook by Kevin DeYoung. I love the vintage modern style of illustrations by Don Clark. The stories are engaging retellings of various Bible stories, and they've all been placed within an overarching storyline. I'm particularly enamoured by the artwork style. It's absolutely gorgeous. There's bright colours on every page, which makes it a really engaging read. This one's a deluxe edition of How the Stars Came to Be, which came out last year, written by Poonam Mystery, and it won several awards. This is a new folktale written about the night sky. This special deluxe edition features a newly illustrated cover printed on a satin silk finish. There's gold detailing and gold edges, and as you can see, the artwork within is absolutely detailed and stunning. Poonam Mystery also put out this year another picture book called The Midnight Panther, which I really highly recommend as well. Big Panda and Little Dragon by James Norbury go on a new adventure called The Journey in this book. It's very simple text and simple calming illustrations. These are the sorts of picture books that I find are quite spiritual, and they appeal across the ages, which is why I tend to recommend them. And in a similar vein, we've got The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse by Charlie Maxey, but in this case it's the animated version. The original came out a couple of years ago and I recommended it then, but in this case we've got the story told again, accompanied with full colour illustrations that have been brought to life with hand-drawn traditional animation style and accompanied with a signature handwritten script. Apparently the film's coming out this Christmas, which I'm really looking forward to, and again this is the sort of story that appeals across the ages. Scholastic in Australia have started bringing out special collector's editions of the Disney Twisted Tales series, which are retellings of Disney classic movies. The hardbacks aren't particularly high quality, they're just glued bindings, but they do have lovely new covers with foiling and matching sprayed page edges, and they look quite attractive on the shelf. A new addition to the Folklore Field Guide series is A Natural History of Mermaids by Emily Hawkins and Jessica Rue. This one's got a lovely silver foil embossed cloth cover, sprayed silver page edges, and it's filled with beautiful illustrations and notes that detail the secret life of mermaids. The cloth and the foil embossing add a touch of luxury, which make them look really higher end and a beautiful gift to give. Another fairy style book is The Fairy Atlas by Anna Claiborne. This is a mix of fairy facts and short retellings of magical fairy tales. Lots of fun for the fairy lover. Changing vein a bit, we've got Hocus Pocus, illustrated by Chris Grimley. This is an illustrated novelisation that retells the story of the classic Halloween film. In my case, of course, I was really drawn to it because I love the original artwork. Chris Grimley just manages to get across a touch of humour and sly delight all at the same time. Can you believe it's already the 10th anniversary of The Wishing Spell, the first book in Chris Culver's Land of Story series? To celebrate, they've brought out an illustrated anniversary edition, which, as you can see here, has some lovely pictures to go along with the classic text. It's got sprayed page edges, decorative details around the text, and some gorgeous illustrations within. Also out this year, we've got the collector's edition of School for Good and Evil by Soman Chanani. This was recently released by Netflix, and the special collector's edition has a reversible dust jacket and decorative end papers. I know that it's advertised as having blue sprayed page edges. Mine didn't, but I don't know if that was a regional thing or if I just got a later printing. Asterix, of course, is an absolute classic comic. I'm really excited by this lovely gift edition of the first 5 books in the series because it's going to make a perfect present. It has Asterix the Gaul, Asterix and the Golden Sickle, Asterix and the Goths, Asterix the Gladiator, and Asterix and the Banquet. It's beautifully made, nice, glossy, high-quality pages, and a really lovely treat. And I do always like to buy a poetry book every year. This year I got And Everything Will Be Glad to See You, Poems by Women and Girls, selected by Ella Risbridger and illustrated by Anna Schepetta. This is a wide-ranging and uplifting collection of poems by well-loved poets including Maya Angelou, Wendy Cope, Christina Rossetti, but it also includes newer voices such as Amanda Gorman, Isra Daley Ward and Amina Abu Quresh. The pictures are lovely, and I think this sort of design really makes poetry more accessible. Now let's move to the classics. The big release this year was, of course, the Little Clothbound Classics series. There are various authors and they're being released in 4 seasonal collections with 12 books each time. They're small, novella-sized companions to the Clothbound Classics series. They're sweet and adorable and definitely would make a perfect stocking stuffer. I think every year in these video reviews I include all the new Chiltern classics because I love these books. They're small pocket-sized formats of the classics. They have these gorgeous textured covers, really interesting patterns. They're printed on heavyweight paper, gilded page edges, and they're quite adorable. In this case, I just wanted to highlight Animal Farm. Isn't that little pig snout in the middle just the cutest? Now, I know I've also featured Barbara Heller's lettered editions of novels before. This year she's brought out Persuasion by Jane Austen. These include the complete novel, but they feature pockets throughout that contain replicas of items from the story. Sometimes they're letters, sometimes they're invitations, but they've been created with exquisite calligraphy and painstaking attention to historical detail. They really add to an immersive feeling when you're reading the book. She's also done Little Women and Pride and Prejudice in the same style. Talking about Little Women, there's another new edition of Little Women, which is the latest in the Marjolaine Baston illustrated classic series. Once again, these have removable ephemera, a self-made newspaper, a map, an invitation. And in this case, they're just inserted through the book for you to come across, like you were reading your granny's old edition of the book from the bookcase and found the things she'd slotted in there as a keepsake memory. Baston also illustrates the books in this series with images from nature, and in this case, the setting allows her to include beautiful wintry scenes of flowers and birds and snow. They're lovely books. I have all of them. Here's one that's just about to come out this month. This is Pride and Prejudice, the deluxe edition, illustrated by renowned fashion designer Bill Donovan. It's got gorgeous looking artwork, foil stamping, decorative end papers, gilded page edges. I can't wait for mine to arrive. Next, I've got a section specifically for myths and legends because this is a genre that I particularly like to collect. I'm going to start with Macmillan's collection of myths and legends. It's a lovely hardback treasury with a die-cut cover. It contains over 40 myths and legends from around the world that have been told in a style that's accessible to children, paired with blue line drawings and classical illustrations. It's one of several large format treasuries that Macmillan have put out. I also have the one for Alice. Next, I have the Great Book of Dragon Legends by Thea Orsi, illustrated by Anna Lang. This has got 16 short stories about dragons, taking from myths and legends and folklore around the world, and it's actually a companion to the Great Book of Forest Legends, which is done in the same lovely watercolour style. Another series of myths and legends is this one put out by DK. This year we've got Egyptian Myths by Jean Menzies, illustrated by Katie Ponder. It has 20 classic Egyptian myths with gorgeous illustrations, but they're also paired with fascinating historical information, which makes your understanding of the myths and experience of reading them that much richer. term Spiritus Mundi describes the realm from which all creative and magical inspiration springs. So this book by Elizabeth Solis Kim is a delightful illustrated anthology of creative writing that reveals connections between imagination and the divine, the occult and the spiritual. Really gorgeous illustrations and some cute little foiling on the cover as well. Lore of the Land, Folklore and Wisdom of the Wild Earth by Claire Cox-Starkey, illustrated by Samantha Dolan, is a rich compendium of folklore and wisdom from land and seas and skies. It's a nice companion to Lore of the Wild, which also came out last year. These are big, oversized books which contain lots of really fascinating information. A couple of years ago we got gender-swapped fairy tales by Carrie Fransman, illustrated by Jonathan Plackett. And this year they've done a matching gender-swapped Greek Myths edition. Switching the gender roles in these retellings really makes clear how much bravery and brutality is reserved for men, and women are typically portrayed as wicked witches or helpless maidens. And it's quite interesting because when you read the stories, the only thing that has been changed is the gender. It really illuminates the bias, but I just particularly love the pictures. And finishing off this section, we've got Nectar of the Gods by Liv Albert, illustrated by Thea Engst. These are punny Greek myth-inspired cocktail concoctions based on your favourite gods and goddesses. As the cover says, from Hera's Hurricane to the Appletini of Discord, 75 mythical cocktails to drink like a deity. They're all accompanied by delightful illustrations and clever myth retellings. It's an absolutely perfect adult gift. Now let's move into fiction. I'm opening this one with one of my favourite books of the year, which is Arsene Lupin, Gentleman Thief by Maurice Leblanc. It's an omnibus collection of the first 9 novels about Lupin, the charming thief and master of disguise. And this illustrated edition features dozens of black and white and full colour illustrations and colour plates, including numerous 2-page spreads. And it's an absolutely joyous way to read the stories. I was also really happy when they brought out a 30th anniversary edition of The Secret History by Donna Tartt. It has a nice cloth spine, it's got a ribbon bookmark and illustrated end papers. I have to say though, I'm still got my fingers crossed that there'll be a 40th anniversary edition, which might have some lovely illustrations to go with it as well. Next I've got The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. This edition is illustrated by Bea Rabai with haunting black and white pictures throughout. It's a glued spine, but for the price, it's probably not intended to be anything super high end. It's just a great way to read the book. I also wanted to include in this list Scattered Showers by Rainbow Rowell, illustrated by the wonderful Jim Turney. These are charming, witty, short love stories which feature princes and trolls and imaginary boys and, of course, the return of her fan favourite character Simon Snow. The edition I've got here is the Waterstones exclusive, which has rainbow sprayed page edges. The US trade edition has blue sprayed edges, the UK trade edition has red sprayed edges, and there's an international edition with clouds and raindrops on the edges as well. So lots of interesting different versions. Try and find one that you like the most. Another anniversary edition that came out this year is Looking for Alibrandi by Melina Marchetta, a classic coming-of-age novel. This deluxe edition has got an exclusive introduction by the author, an illustrated section that contains facsimiles of the original edited manuscript and photographs and reviews and articles. The Little Match Girl Strikes Back by Emma Carroll and Lauren Child is a feminist retelling of the classic tale. Lauren does her signature move of cleverly playing with text design as you read throughout the book. There's a hidden cover under the dust jacket, and it's 2-colour printing throughout. Next up, we've got fantasy and science fiction. The illustrated editions of Phil Pullman's His Dark Materials series has finally finished with the Amber Spyglass illustrated by... This is a stunning full-colour gift hardback with hidden cover and colour illustrations throughout. They're big, they're glossy, and it's a really gorgeous way to reread a beloved classic. Also very popular this year are the Silmarillion editions illustrated by J.R.R. Tolkien. These are companions to the matching Lord of the Rings editions that were released last year. Which has 2-colour printing. There's the cheaper edition, which has stencilled green and pages. There's also a deluxe edition, which comes in a slipcase, is quarter-bound with blue leather, and has the two poster-sized fold-out maps, and as well as an illustrated booklet by Christopher Tolkien and a printed art card as well. Another prequel of sorts is The Rise of the Dragon, Illustrated History of the Targaryen Dynasty by George R.R. Martin. It's a lavish visual history, but it's got lots of news stories, so it's not just background information. Definitely worth having if you love Games of Thrones. Still on the dragon theme, there's the Dragon Universe by Blaze. This is an illustrated encyclopedia which has different texts on the history of dragons combined with illustrators from around the world. From John Howe, who designed the Lords of the Rings, to Todd Lockwood, who illustrates Dungeons and Dragons, to illustrators of Warhammer and Chronicles of the Black Moon. It's really just a beautiful art book for the dragon and fantasy artwork lover. Of course, this section wouldn't be complete without including the collector's illustrated editions of Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. This is a massive book, a huge oversized edition, brilliantly and profusely illustrated by Jim Kay and Neil Packer. Apparently this is the last one in the series that Jim Kay will be doing, which is a shame because I love and adore his work, but it'll be interesting to see where they go for the next book in the series. Barnes & Noble have been going a little bit slowly on their leather-bound collector editions, but they did bring out 2 Star Wars omnibuses this year, The Bounty Hunter Wars and Tales of Kenobi. These are big omnibus collections. The internals are kind of thin paper, so they're not super easy to read, but the real attraction are the gorgeous cover designs, which are super striking on the shelf, and they did replace, in my case, a bunch of beat-up paperbacks. If you read or watch the Shadow and Bone series, here's a beautifully done prequel graphic novel, Demon in the Wood. It's the origin story of the Darkling. I have the Waterstones exclusive here, which has a bonus letter from the author in it as well. The next category I'm coming to is non-fiction and reference. Now, you'll be excused for thinking that I did continue on a bit from the fantasy section, because the first book I have here is The Magic of MinaLima, Interactive Edition, which is of course chronicling the magical 20-year journey of their design studio, the creative geniuses behind the graphics for the Harry Potter film series. It's also got lots of interactive elements, like the Marauders map. There's a lovely close-up of the Black family tapestry, which I've wanted to look at in detail for a while, and some fun things from Weasley Wizard Wheezers and like. But it also includes early drafts, so you can see how the designs have changed. So this is the sort of book that's really interesting for anybody studying art or interested in that sort of design process. Next up, I've got Around the World in 80 Birds by Mike Unwin. This tells interesting stories about 80 birds from around the world, from the sociable weevil bird in Namibia, which constructs huge multi-nest apartment blocks in the desert, to the bar-headed goose of China, which was one of the highest flying migrant birds and crosses the Himalayas twice a year. It's really fascinating natural history, accompanied by gorgeous illustrations, perfect for the nature lover. And another one for the nature lover is The Modern Bestiary, a curated collection of wondrous creatures by Joanna Bagniewska, illustrated by Jennifer Smith. This includes both animals you might have heard of, as well as others that might be new to you, like harp sponges or zombie worms. There are little black and white illustrations of each animal, followed by really fascinating potted history and information about them. It's fabulous if you're into science or interested in animals. Another one here for the art lover is Creature by Sean Tan. Sean Tan's best known for his wordless picture book, The Arrival, which poignantly tells the migrant story, and if you don't have that one, I highly recommend it. Creature is a beautiful collection of paintings and drawings and preliminary sketches, combined with reflections and essays that illuminate the author and narrative artist's thought process, as well as including some advice that he gives to writers and artists along different stages of their career. We're getting closer to the pointy end. Now I'm looking at Christmas books. The first one I've got here is Paddington's Christmas Post, which is based on the classic character by Michael Bond and illustrated by R.W. Alley. It's an interactive picture book that follows Paddington as he does his best to help the Brown family get ready for a very special Christmas. The attraction of this book is the envelopes, which open to reveal a removable calendar, or Christmas cards, or a tree decoration and other fun surprises. Another delightful Christmas book is Clarice Bean, Think Like an Elf by Lauren Child. This full-coloured illustrated novel has Clarice kindle the holiday spirit, and it features all the classic elements of her stories. Playing with text, lots of gorgeous illustrations, and a heap of fun to read. Now, Waterstones have a bunch of inexpensive paperbacks with these beautiful stenciled page edges if you're looking for some fun things for the kids for Christmas. Here I'm highlighting The Very Merry Murder Club, which is a joyous anthology of Christmassy crime stories for young readers. And if you don't live in the UK, don't be frightened of ordering from Waterstones, because although the postage cost for the first book or two is quite high, every book thereafter only costs an extra £1 in shipping, so if you buy quite a few books at a time, the cost amortises out to be relatively cheap pretty quickly. So the last book I've got in this section isn't strictly speaking a Christmas book, it's actually a cookbook called Postal Bakes by Lucy Burton. But for me, nothing says Christmas more than being able to bake up treats for my friends and giving them out. So being able to post them to my friends who live far away is absolutely attractive to me. I haven't made any of these yet, but I'm about to, and I can't wait to send them all to my friends. I'll update in the comments after Christmas to let you know how they all went. Next up, I've got a bunch of literary gift ideas for the book lover in your life. First of all, I absolutely highly recommend Revenge of the Librarians by Tom Gould. This is a hilarious collection of literary cartoons that are going to ring true with any reader or author or librarian for that matter. It even has a cute removable library card stuck on the front file leaf. Highly recommended. There's a great quote by Neil Gaiman who said that Tom Gould is always funny, but he's funny in a way that makes you feel smarter. And I'm sure that's part of the joy of reading his comics. Up next, I've got a lovely book for people who write, or those who just like to take a sneaky peek into the areas where others write, called Rooms of Their Own by Alex Johnson. These are essays and illustrations on the writing rooms of 50 writers from around the world. They include attics and studies, billiard rooms and baths. It's a joy to read, super fun to dip into and just read a chapter at a time. Here's one for someone who likes to haunt antique bookshops. Librorum Ridiculorum, a compendium of bizarre books by Brian Lake. It's a celebration of all the weird and wonderful book titles from antique bookshops, ranging from Scouts in Bondage to Frog Raising for Pleasure and Profit. On the other hand, if you're someone who's a bit new to book collecting, Hayes' Great Novels, the World's Most Remarkable Fiction Explored and Explained is a really useful introduction to great literature from around the world and throughout time. It's got paintings and photographs that help tell the story of each novel and what inspired their authors. It's got images of first editions, pictures of manuscripts, quotes, extracts to give you a flavour of the novel, and it even has character maps to show how the different people relate to each other. It's a great primer for reading classic literature. Another delightful gift that I confess I totally just bought for myself are these beautiful Lang's Fairy Book journals, put out by stationery company Paper Blanks. They've put them out in lots of different sizes, some ruled, some without, but they all have these gorgeous Victorian illustrations from the first editions of Andrew Lang's Green and Violet Fairy books on the cover. They're covered in a sort of silky material, the illustrations are beautiful and they catch the light in different ways. Absolutely a joy. Another fun gift is the Phantom Wise Tarot by Erin Morgenstern. When she was working on her international bestseller The Night Circus, she began a creative exercise to better understand how the tarot works, and this fantastical 78-card tarot deck is the result. It's got a black and white world that's a little bit circusy, a little bit Wonderland, a little bit nocturnal fantasia. There's a mix of myth and fairy tale, and it's a lovely deck of cards to use. And a second beautiful tarot deck that I've got here is Botanica by Kevin J. Stanton. This explores the biological roots of the arcana with 78 very thick, heavy, fully painted symbolic cards rooted in classical interpretations. The box comes with a golden dandelion charm, an embroidered patch, 4 stickers and 6 postcards. A really beautiful gift. This annual series I do focuses mostly on affordable books, but I do like to highlight something special at the end if you've got a little bit more money or somebody special that you want to buy a present for. This year I want to showcase The Never-Ending Story by Michael Ende, illustrated by Marie Alice Harrell and put out by the Folio Society to celebrate their 75th anniversary. It's a simply stunning edition. It's bound in blocked art silk, printed in 2 text colours throughout, just like the first edition was. 1 colour for when he's in the real world and 1 colour for when he's in the story world. It's got dragon stencils around the page edges. It's got gorgeous illustrations. And it's a favourite story of mine. This edition absolutely does do it justice. This is one of my top gift book recommendations of the year. Well, that brings me to the end at last. As I said, I've got lots of other interesting books I didn't have time to film. They're on the website, which is linked below. And I'd love to know what your favourite books of the year are. Please put them in the comments. I do read all of them and I love to know what other people are enjoying. As always though, thanks so much for watching. Till next time, bye.